Hi, it's Corrine, and today I'm making a clock using a canvas. I am also adding a photo that I printed out on top of it. I used my Silhouette software to add some Roman numerals to it, and I do have a tutorial on how I did that, which will come right after this video. So if you want to forward directly to that, that'll be at 11:03. Here I'm using just a standard 8x10 canvas that I picked up at Michael's. And I'm adding some black acrylic paint to the edges. Once I add the photo, that's all you'll see is just the edges. I do add 2 coats of this black paint, and I use my heat tool to dry it in between the 2 coats. I wanted to make sure that it was completely dry before adding my photo. Here I'm showing you the clock that I'm using. This clock I've already decorated, but it's a $5 clock that you get from Walmart, and they come in black or white, and I just took it apart and used the mechanism out of it. So it's a cheap way to use the clock hands. I just popped the glass off of it, and then you could pull off the clock hands and get that part off the back. You can also buy those separate at Hobby Lobby, any craft store or hobby store as well. And here I'm just adding some broken china distressing to the edge of my photo. That photo was printed out on cardstock, and that photo is one of my favorite photos. We were at Oceanside in California at the beach, and my husband was showing our son the sand crabs, and it was not a staged photo. They didn't even know that I took that photo. And it was just a very sweet moment between the two of them. So I was glad to be able to capture that, and that is one of my favorite photos. I printed a black circle right there using my Silhouette just in the middle of my photo. So I'll use my big bite to punch that out. I'm going to use a pencil just to mark my canvas on where I need to punch through. I used my Tim Holtz paper piercer to punch the circle, but it wasn't big enough, so I went ahead and cut just a little bit of an X with my scissors, and that way it made it a perfect fit. I'm going to use E6000 to adhere that to the back of it, also with a little bit of hot glue. That way the hot glue will stick immediately, giving the E6000 a little time to dry. And you want to be careful when using E6000. You want to have a window open or maybe a door open. Um, if I use it and my husband walks in, the first thing he says is how bad it smells. I don't notice the smell is bad, but I have gotten a headache if I've used it for quite a while without a window or door open. So now I make sure to, open something up to make sure it's well ventilated. And here I'm just pressing it down to make sure that it's sticking. And it stuck right away. And with the E6000, I don't have to worry about it falling off or not holding well. I'm going to use Mod Podge in the matte finish to adhere my photo to the canvas. And Mod Podge, every time I use it, I'm always so impressed with it. It's at first when I put my photo on, it had a few bubbles in it, which you can use your finger. It's very forgiving. You can use your finger to kind of press them down. But by the time it dried, the photo was completely flush with the canvas. So it turned out very well. I'm putting a little Mod Podge on the back of the photo as well. Okay, so yes, I realize that for the number 9 that's on the photo, I have XI, which is actually 11 instead of IX. And the funny thing is I did not realize this until after it was in my bathroom and hung. And my husband and I have been laughing about it ever since. So I was able to correct it, so just forgive the video. What I did is I just reprinted out the picture, cut out that portion, and Mod Podged it on, and you cannot even tell. It still looks great. So just excuse my error there. I'm only going to add one coat of the Mod Podge. You can add several coats if you prefer, but one coat worked great. And I did add it to the outside of the frame as well, where I had the black acrylic paint. I wanted it finished because it's going into our guest bathroom, and my son showers in there. So with the steam of the shower, I wanted to make sure that it would not come up. I made sure to allow the Mod Podge time to dry, which it was pretty much dry within a few minutes. You can also take your heat tool to it. I did let it just sit for about a half hour before messing with it, just to make sure. And here, these are some Prima flatback pearls. I was making sure that they did not interfere with the clock hands. And here's some wild orchid craft flowers. I also used some flatback pearls that I got from Saw Crafters. Those I'll use glossy accents to adhere. And the rest of them, the flowers, I use hot glue and also a little bit of E6000. I'm just curling the edge or the wire stems on the flowers. Some more wild orchid craft flowers. These are what I call filler flowers. They're little flowers that I'm just adding to where it looks like it needs a little more. I also chose to use some seashells that I had in my stash for probably about 10 years, and they went perfectly with this picture. So I used glossy accents to add those around the flowers. Using my heat gun to get rid of any of the hot glue strings. And I spray a little bit of Lindy's Scintillating Silver right on the flowers to give it a little gloss. So thanks for watching. I do have the silhouette tutorial coming up, so if you'd like to watch that, then stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Hey, it's Corrine, and today I wanted to share with you how I use my Silhouette Designer Edition Studio to put the clock on the photo that I used in the beginning of this video. So here I'm using the Designer Edition. It shows you up in the top left-hand corner which edition is yours. This is the only one I've ever used, so I believe that the Standard Edition is very similar, but I'm just showing you on how I did it on the Designer Edition. So this is the finished product here. I will open up a new tab and show you from start to finish how I did that. So let me go grab over here a new drawing. I'm going to select that. And the first thing I want to do is draw out a rectangle. So I'm going to select my draw rectangle and just draw out a box. Then in order to work with this box, I need to grab my select tool over here on the left. And then I'm going to highlight this box. Now I was working with an 8x10 canvas, so I wanted my photo to be about a 1/4 inch smaller on both the height and the width. So with my box highlighted, I'm going to open up the scale window here at the top, and under specify dimensions, I'm going to change my dimensions. My width I want to be 9.75, so I'm going to highlight that and type in 9.75. The height, I'd like it to be about 7 3/4, so I'm going to type in 7.75, and I'm going to click apply. Okay, so this is the size photo that I want. So with this box highlighted, I want to drag and drop a photo in here. So I'm going to do that by selecting File up in the left top corner. And I have a video that goes into greater detail on this. I will link that in the description box below. But for this video, I'm just going to go through it quickly. I'm going to select Merge, Libraries, Pictures. And under the files of type, I'm going to select the drop-down box and select all files. Okay, so I'm going to choose the picture that I want to drag into it. I'm going to drag and drop my photo into that, and then I'm going to select Cancel to close out the box. Now, if I want to adjust this photo in any way, with the photo highlighted, you can go up here to your Fill Pattern window, and in the bottom right, you can select Advanced Options, and you can scale the pattern larger, smaller, whatever you'd like to do. I'm going to leave mine as is, and you can also pan by selecting Pan Pattern and grab the middle here and move it around. Again, I'm going to leave it where it's at. I'm happy with it the way it is. Okay, so the next thing that I want to do is add my Roman numerals to it. How I go about doing that is over here on the left, I want to open my text box by selecting that and clicking onto my screen here. Okay, and over on the right hand side, you have your text style box pop up. You can choose any font that you want. I know that I wanted the standard Times New Roman, so I'm just going to select that and type out capital X, V, and I, being that that's the only letters that I need. Okay, so by selecting or clicking off of that, now I can highlight it and readjust it to whatever size that I want. So what I did there is I just moved it up to my box and I just eyeballed it on what I thought looked good. So I'm happy with that right there. What I want to do now is if you're going to have your silhouette cameo cut out your photo, then you want to change this to no cut. So by doing that, you want to go up to your cut style window up here at the top, select that, and select no cut. Okay, and now I'm going to go back to my Edit Page Tools window. Now the next thing is I know that I wanted it to print out in white. So I'm going to, with my numbers highlighted, I'm going to Fill Color Windows, select white, and I don't want it very stark white, so I'm going to go down to Advanced Options again, and I'm going to up the transparency. Whenever I do white on a photo, I like it at 40%. You can play around to whatever you want, but I like it at 40. Okay, now that I'm happy with that, I need several of the X's, V's, and I's. So I'm going to highlight these and ungroup them by selecting the Ungroup button in the bottom left. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to make duplicate copies of each letter. I did a bunch of letters just so I had them available. There are several ways of doing it. You can right-click, select copy and paste. You can also go to your replicate window and choose, to duplicate right or a row of 3, however you want to do it. The quickest and fastest way that I do it is by highlighting the letter, grabbing it towards the bottom, and holding your Control button. You can do that as many times as you want. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to do the V. I'm holding Control as I drag it, letting it go, grabbing it again, holding Control. I'm going to do that several times. Okay, so now I went through and did, on mine, as you saw, I only did the 12, 3, 6, and 9. So for the 12, I need an X, I. So I'm just going to put them near each other so I can adjust them. Then up here at the top, I'm going to use my zoom button by dragging around them, zooming in so I can see. And I'm going to move them to what I'm happy with. I don't want them touching, but I want them close. So as you can see, that looks good. So I want to group these together by dragging a box around them, and down in the left hand, grouping them. Okay, so to quickly zoom out, I'm going to select my Fit to Window button. And I'm going to move this to the side being that I'm done. So now I need the number 3. So I have the 3 eyes right here. And I know ahead of time I'm going to need a couple more eyes. So I'm going to hold Control and drag a couple more out. Okay, so let me move a couple of these aside. Now again, I want to zoom in by using my drag over. I want to zoom right here. Move these to where they look good. Drag a box around them, and down here in the left-hand button, group them. You can also do that by right-clicking and selecting Group. Okay, I want to quickly zoom out, so I'm going to Fit to Window and do the same thing with the number 6. I won't zoom in on these for the sake of video. I'm just going to do them quickly. There's the 6 and the 9. I need an X, I. So again, quickly move them together and group them. Okay, so there's all the numbers that I need. The ones that I don't need, I'm going to drag a box around them, right-click, and select Delete. Okay, so now the next thing, and I want to double-check what is showing that's going to cut. So I'm going to open my Cut Style window, and as you can see, just the outside of the photo will cut. In my case, I'm not having the Cameo cut it. I'm going to cut it out by myself and just print it. So let me grab my Editing Tools window again. Okay, so the next thing that I want to do is put the numbers where they belong. So what I'm going to do is highlight the number, and by holding my Shift key, I'm going to select my photo as well. I want to go up here to my Align window, select that, and then I want to select the center, Align Center, since I want it in the center of my photo, and then I want it at the top, so I'm going to select Align Top. Okay, now I didn't want it fully at the edge of my photo, so let me select my zoom button right here so I can zoom in and show you what I'm doing. I didn't want it right up at the edge, so I'm going to select just the number button, use my down arrow key to give it a little space there. Okay, now once that I'm happy with that, with this highlighted as it was, I want to hold the shift button and select my photo as well, and down here on the left, select group. That way I can move this around and not worry about my numbers moving. So let me quickly zoom back out. And I want to do the same thing with the 3 and my photo. As you can see, the numbers are going behind it, so I need to move my photo to the back by highlighting it, right-clicking, and select Send to Back. That way now my photos go in front of it. Or excuse me, my numbers go in front of the photo. So highlighting the numbers, holding my Shift key, I'm going to select my photo. Over here, my align box is still open. I want to align middle, so it goes to the middle of my photo, and now I want it to go all the way to the right, so I'm going to select align right. Selecting my zoom button, I want to zoom into it so I can see a little bit closer. I don't want it against my edge of my photo, so I'm highlighting just the numbers, using my left arrow key and moving those over a bit. Okay, without clicking off of this, I want to hold my shift button, select my photo, go down here to the left, and select group. Okay, I'm going to quickly zoom back out, do the exact same thing with the next 2 numbers. So let me just quickly do those. I need to send my photo to the back like I did before so I can see my numbers on front of the photo. So let me quickly do those. Selecting align bottom, zooming in, selecting just the numbers and using my up arrow key, shift, and select photo, and group it. Then I need to right click on it and hit send to back for my next one. I want to zoom back out, select this, hold my shift, select my photo, align middle, and align left. Okay, I want to click off of that, zoom in, select just my numbers, and using my right arrow key, move it over a little bit. Hold my shift key, the photo itself, and the group. Okay, let me quickly zoom back out. Okay, now I'm happy with that. Now the next thing that I did is I drew a little circle in the middle just so I knew where I could use my crocodile and cut out the circle in the middle for my clock hands to go through to the clock mechanism. So what I did is over here on the left, I grabbed my draw an ellipse feature. I selected that, and by holding shift, I dragged a circle. Holding shift will give you a perfect circle. Otherwise, as you can see here, you'll get an oval. Okay, so now I want to resize this circle, so I need to go up here to the left, grab select, highlight this, and now I can move it up or down. I just eyeballed it. I did about a 0.210 circle. I'm going to, being that I don't want it cut out, I don't have to worry about this because I'm just printing it, but if you don't want it to cut, but yet you want the outside of your photo to cut, then you're going to want to go up here to your cut style window, select that, and select no cut. Again, I'm not worrying about that, but I do want to be able to see it on my photo so I know where to cut the circle out. So I'm going to go up to my fill color window and select black. That way it shows nicely on the photo for me. So with this highlighted, I want to select the photo, go back up to my align window, and do it the exact same way that we align the numbers. Now this time I want to select align middle and align center. Okay, and now with them both still highlighted, I want to do the same thing I did with my numbers and select group. So that way I can move it around. Let me just get rid of this oval here by right-clicking and deleting. The other thing that I want to show is how I did the tick marks in between the numbers. So again, under my text, I just selected the text button, and on my keyboard, I selected a line, and I want to make it a little bit larger. Just again, I eyeballed this onto what size that I wanted in comparison to my numbers. So that looks right. So I want to do the exact same thing of changing the color by selecting the color, fill color window, select white, and down in the advanced options, I want to change my transparency to 40 so it matches the numbers. Okay, now what I did is I gave myself a guide on where I wanted the tick marks to go. So how I did that is I went to my library and I selected a clock that I had in my library. I used this clock here. Let me move this clock over here to the right so we can see what we're doing. And what I did is I used the circle and the numbers. And so what I did is ungrouped all of this clock by highlighting it and selecting the ungroup button. Now what I need to do, being that you can see that it ungrouped all the individual numbers, I want to regroup the numbers by dragging a box over all the numbers and selecting group down in the left. That way I can move the numbers around without disturbing them. I don't need this upper circle and the hand, so I'm going to highlight those or select them, right click, and delete. Now I want these two this circle centered around the numbers, so I want to select that, hold my shift key, select my numbers, and again up here I want to, in the top here, open the align window by selecting it. I want to select align center, align middle, and now I want to go down to the left bottom and group them. Again, that way I can move it around and it'll stay together. So what I did is I just, again, eyeballed it by highlighting the clock and dragging it here by pulling out the corner to about the same size as my photo from top to bottom. Okay, and I want to move the clock to the middle of my photo, so I have the clock highlighted. I want to hold the shift key and select my photo and align with my align button or box still open. I want to select align center, align middle. Now I don't want to group these because I'm not going to keep it this way. So let me zoom in a little by hitting my zoom button. That way you can see what I'm doing. And what I did is I made several copies of these by holding Control and dragging. Okay, and let me select one of them. I brought it over to where the center of the one was, and by using this green button you can rotate it. So I rotated it to what looks right, and I just kind of worked with it, dragged it around. I used the outside of my circle to determine how much to rotate it, to where it looked even to me, to the outside of my circle. And then I moved it down to match the outside of my circle. Let me zoom in a little bit more so you can see what I'm doing here. So again, I'm just rotating it, and right, you can move it up or down. Right about there looks right to me. So I'm quickly going to zoom out, grab another one, move it over to the 2. Let me zoom back in here. Okay, by selecting my box, I can grab the green button up here and rotate it. And actually, I'm going to rotate it a little bit more and drag it down a little. Let me zoom back out for you. And I continue to do this with all the numbers. Once I have that done, what I want to do is let me undo what I just did. I want to grab my clock. Once you know you have your clock, then you want to move that out of the way and delete that by right-clicking and selecting delete. Now, saying that I had all my tick marks here, I want to put a box, around my entire design, my photo and everything, and I want to go to the bottom left here and select group. Again, you would want to go to your cut style window. If you don't want these to cut out, select your cut style window and select no cut. If you're doing what I did and just printing it out, you don't need to worry about doing that. Now I'm going to print this out on cardstock, and I'm using 8.5 by 11. So I need to go up here to my page tools window on the right top and select letter size 8.5 by 11. And I'm just going to rotate my photo by choosing the rotate window and choosing 90 degrees. And I'm just going to center that here. And now I'm going to send it to my printer to print out. So I'm going to select printer. And now what I chose to do, being that it is a photo, but I am printing it out on cardstock, I did not choose photo paper. However, I did go under preferences, and my print quality, I changed it to high instead of standard, so it prints out a little bit nicer. So now I would select OK and select print. So that is all I did in order to do this. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me, leave me a comment, send me a message. I will link that video in the description box that goes over a little bit more detail on how to drag a photo into a shape or a box. And I hope you enjoyed this, and thank you for watching.